Okay, we've got another article here written by Robert J. Asher. It's called Science, Religion, and the First Amendment. And this guy confuses me in the way that he writes. He has a lot of kind of, I want to just say, logical fallacies in his arguments and the way that he presents this information. He opens basically by discussing something from the Constitution. It says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Actually, I don't know if that's from the Constitution. Bill of Rights. I'm an idiot on that. I apologize. But he then goes on to say that, so today certain groups seem eager to promote nonsense in education. And that whereas others argue that religion itself consists of nothing but nonsense. And it kind of does. So that is hard to address. And he's saying, well, this provides a conflict that is like, how do we address enabling both freedom from and to religion? And as the article goes on, I get so confused with what he's trying to get across here, because I don't feel like the cases that he presents actually show this difference between, freedom from religion and freedom, to religion.
Yeah.
Because again, there's nothing mandating that religions cannot practice. That would be, hurting the freedom to religion, because we'd be attacking them.
Right.
But then, he kind of defends this idea that in the schools, that there's this idea that, if you present this idea of creation, that it's not necessarily against the science. Because he's going all the way back to the idea that even though, yes, evolution is true, and we've known that, and we have to teach that, and everything else like that, but that somehow this idea of creation, like the intelligent designer argument, and that evolution is the mechanism that an intelligent designer utilizes, basically.
Right.
And that's just such a disaster argument, and especially because which creation then is he talking about?
Right.
Like, if we're going to allude to our students that creation is something that exists, then which creation? Islamic creation? To what level?
Well, and I think it bears pointing out that he mentions in this article that he's paleontologist, and he goes over a recent case where a high school teacher, Rodney Levake, refused to teach evolution accurately. He was actually apparently trying to misrepresentate some of the evidence for evolution, and in a court case, he claimed he had academic freedom to do this, and the court said, no, you have to teach the state mandated science education as it's mandated. You are not allowed, you don't have academic freedom to misrepresent the evidence. And this author absolutely supports that, but then he goes on to say that it's like he's trying to say that you should have the ability to stand up in science class and say, science cannot discount supernatural entities.
Yeah, it can't disprove these supernatural ideas.
But then you go forward and you teach evolution in all its fullness. But he wants to reserve the right to say, but, that doesn't rule out anyone's religion. When the fact of the matter is, we shouldn't be talking about anyone's religion at all. If students want to hear about any particular religion or whatever thing, they can go to a church and find out. Science is not concerning itself with that, and it's a matter of, he seems to be separating the superstition of things like the creation myth and saying that bit is superstition, and you can't.
And it's totally separate from religion.
Right, and it's totally separate from religion. But the reason that he's discounting what he's calling these creation superstitions is because they don't have any evidence, just like the religion. So I don't understand why he's separating the two, and I don't see how he's making this separation.
Right,
because when you're going to talk about all these other aspects of religion that he's somehow separating from superstition, they're the same.
Right.
They have the same evidence, which is none.
Well, because the only evidence we get of creation is from the stories of religion. They come from religion. There's no actual evidence of creation. He goes on to actually say that, just like you said, he talks about the Supreme Court cases that basically made sure that creation could not be taught in the schools because of the fact that it just does not have any evidence.
Right.
In these cases, the last case that was a huge victory for our side was in 2005, and it. It just eviscerated the idea of intelligent design, basically. Right. And he said that So why he accepts that that's true, that the courts made the right decision. He goes on to say, however, it is not creation itself that conflicts with science. Which again, I'm not understanding where he's going. I mean, it seems like he's going all the way back. He's
trying to,
like the Big Bang
right.
creation.
He's trying to back it up and say, yeah, you know, cosmology and chemistry and biology and evolution and all that. But he's trying to back it up, I think, to the point where saying, but you can't say that God didn't spark the Big Bang.
Which is why this article's so confusing, because
Right.
he never comes out and says that. The only way we kind of allude to this idea that that's what he's really getting across is because after he says that, so creation itself that it is not creation itself that conflicts with science, and he says analogously regarding Thomas Edison as the inventor of the light bulb says nothing about how it actually works, and no reasonable person would conclude his non-existence from our understanding of electricity. And I mean,
It's absolutely insane because this is a false dichotomy.
Right.
Because the problem is that we know humans invented the light bulb because light bulbs don't occur in nature.
Right.
We don't know that God sparked the Big Bang. These are two completely different things. It's a false dichotomy. It's sort of, in a sense, the watchmaker argument all over again. When you see a watch on the beach, you know that a human designed it because you know, you understand what a watch is, but you can't also be on the beach and be like, oh, but the beach is proof that God created the beach. It's not the same. It's not an analogous argument. He's making complete. This actually, I think, is this is a distillation of the whole rest of his article. He has this complete. Like in one half of his brain, he's saying, yeah, you can't misrepresent the case for evolution, and you can't teach intelligent design in a classroom because there's no evidence for it. But then he's going on and he's separating his religion out and saying, but I should get to teach this somehow, or I should get to stand up in a science class and defend
it just doesn't
it.
discount the idea of creation.
But it does, because it's the same thing.
Well, because you don't have any evidence to suggest creation, so until you do, you can't assume that it's possible.
Right, and his Thomas Edison analogy is just absolutely terrible. So,
well, his end cap to distinguishing superstition from religion.
They're the same thing. I mean, seriously, you're done. You're done. I mean, if superstition is how superstition, he's in his thought process, he's calling it some sort of religious belief, basically, that doesn't have any evidence. So then he needs to show me what evidence he has for his religious beliefs that would make it a different thing from this like creation superstition. Because as far as I'm concerned, they are identical. They are the exact same thing, and how he's getting to that place in his head, I don't understand.
Well, because the problem is, if you could prove either of those things, then they'd be called science.
Right. They would be demonstrable, and I wouldn't be an atheist. I would just be a guy who didn't worship his God.
Exactly.